Hey guys, I don't know if everyone can hear me. Got a few people watching. Might have some other people joining on the stream, but who knows? We've only got a couple of minutes, so we'll see what happens. Otherwise, it'll be me waffling. Thought it'd just be fun. It's 2 p.m. on the afternoon for us in Australia, so it's pretty easy for us to get access to this. So I might have a look here and see if I can switch this screen to share the stream, and it's just whether or not you guys can hear the audio. So if you can, once it happens, if you can hear me and the video, I guess let me know. Let's have a look here. Let's go Chrome tab. Three in the night, hey, Vinzi. Wow. That's like me getting up to watch the NFL. When it kicks off, it's 3 a.m. usually. Could you guys hear... Hey, Richard. Can you guys hear the audio for me? Oh, yeah, cool. Hey, Richard and Gilthos, you should join the stream. You've got the link. Feel free to jump on if you want. I'm guessing it's going to be a lot of iOS stuff, so I don't know if I really have any knowledge to give. Awesome. Thing is, I'm not sure how I can change the video's volume, so if it's out of whack, it's out of whack. Oh, it just came up, Swope, it just came up on their Warhammer community. I think if you go back to that Warcom site, it's a Twitch stream. I'll just see if I can see it. Can I share it? Let's have a look. Yeah, I don't know. I went to a hobby shop today just to have a look at some stuff just for fun because I was fiddling around near there and I wanted to get, and then I thought, oh, I might get some night goblins. Nothing. All orcs and goblins gone. That's not AOS, eh? That's old world for sure. Yeah, so Swope, if you go to that link I put on the chat, I think they've switched the video over now to this guy here. Oh yeah, Skaven are awesome. I haven't had an update for so long, so see what AOS-ifying Skaven is going to look like. Ha, Richard. I won't say no. Maybe we can talk about that later. I was after the the newer. Finally got the Battle for Skull Pass guys. So, well, that's what I'm hoping. That we're going to see the dwarf on Shield Bearers potentially. Hey Mitch, in 2 minutes. Can't remember how long these previews go for, but usually 10, 15 minutes, something like that. Oh, you're a legend, Gilfoss. You didn't have to do that. Thank you. $10. Cheers, man. Thank you. Andrew said he might be able to come, but I don't know. He had an appointment, so must push something around. He's the dwarf expert. Potentially. No, I can do this, I think. Did that mute them? That you can't see, you can't hear them now? I can mute it, I just don't know if I can adjust the volume. Yeah. Oh, I might be able to. Hang on. Cool, it went quiet. Did it come back up though? So I can actually probably do this if we need to. Oh, really? Okay. Oh, so it mutes it down but leaves it on. Well, that's probably pretty cool. It starts.
Hello and welcome to the Adepticon Preview Show 2024. My name's Lewis and I'll be your host for this brand new show, bringing you all the latest releases from the Warhammer universe. We've got announcements from Warhammer
Hey,
Age of
lightsabers
Sigmar,
in the background.
Warhammer
That's a bit weird.
40,000, Warcry, Warhammer Underworlds, Warhammer the Old World, Kill Team, and loads more. There's certainly something for everyone, and with that in mind, we've called in our top team of Warhammer presenters to talk to the fabulous people at the studios to give you the lowdown on what's on the way for your favourite games systems. And boy, have they been busy. So, without further ado, let's get started with our first reveal.
Here we go. I was going to say, I wasn't sure if that was chaos related. Something. Looks like every other Chaos Space Marine, does it? No. Oh, they're cool. Oh, look at that, more Marauders. I don't know too much about Space Marines, people, so we can't comment. I wonder how big these guys are, though, because I don't know how Space Marines getting a bit small compared to all the other Space Marines. Who knows?
Let the galaxy burn! It looks like the Chaos Space Marines are back, and the long war is going to be fought with renewed vigour with the return of the Chaos Space Marines. Now, thanks for joining us. We've got Stu and Josh from the Warhammer studio here. Thanks for joining us, guys. So we've got shiny new miniatures and 2 new battle forces as well. Tell us all about them.
Yeah, so 2 Chaos Lords, a return of a popular kind of fan favourite in the Chaos Lord Jump Pack. So he comes back in a battle force with some Raptors.
We just got to get through the 40k stuff, I guess. Crutch
cam,
cam, yeah,
the other battle
totally.
force, which contains a brand new multi-part Chaos Lord with all kinds of different options. He's got Demon Hammer, he's got Axe, different pistols.
Is Josh that new guy in 40k that's actually doing the meta, like the actual point stuff? I think he is.
Too much chaos.
The analysis.
There is too much chaos for one box, and we also tried to make sure that both of those boxes give you a slightly different kind of miniatures collection. So actually,
They look pretty
if you
cool,
want
the
to go all in and get
Terminators.
both, just gives you a really good collection of Chaos Space Marines.
That's really cool.
A few spiky bits you could potentially use for Old World. If you want to
Sure.
What
grab them off
can
the
Chaos
bits.
Space Marine fans and new Chaos Space Marine fans expect from the new codex?
Like lots of the codexes that we've done recently, we've refreshed all the background, we've added a load of stuff from the events of the Arcs of Omen, so the return of Vashtor, and his pact with Abaddon to finally try and get closer to overthrowing the rule of terror. His planetary engine, the Wormwood, is back in real space, so more adventures of Vashtor. A load of great rules content as well, so 8 new detachments, I think, Josh, isn't it?
8 new detachments.
Wow.
So I think we keep the index attachment, but that's been updated, and then there's now 7 new detachments.
Jeez.
However you want to play.
Isn't that
Do you wanna
more
play
than in
with
the
a
Space
cultist
Marine
horde?
Codex?
Do you want to play with all your demon engines? Do you want to play like the Alpha Legion style, which is all infiltrating and sneaking up on people? Whichever your style is, there's a way to play now.
That's fantastic. So whichever army you've got, you can sort of switch between detachments and play the way you want to play. That's cool.
Yeah,
An entire army of expendable cultists sounds awesome.
There is an entire army
There
of
is,
expendable
yes.
cultists, yeah. There's
And Traitor Guardsmen as well.
Traitor
America.
Guardsmen, yeah. There's also others,
really don't have
as
much,
Josh said, that
comment
kind
on
of
the
lean
40K
into a
stuff,
particular
sorry.
style that we associate with some of the legions. So there's a kind of a sneaky kind of Alpha Legion.
I think, are they the ones that
one.
looked a bit dark
There's
elfish,
another one
Richard?
that
I don't
enables you
know.
to
There was
play
one
kind of
guy that
tanks
looked like
and
a
siege engines, which has got a bit of Iron Warriors
dark
vibe.
elfy guy. I think
But
they're the
if
closest.
you want to
I
play a
think,
Night
that you
Lord
could
siege
use.
force, knock yourself out.
Any word bearers in that book, guys?
There are word bearers in that book.
Had to be somewhere, didn't there?
There are, yeah.
They always sneak in there.
They do, and that detachment that is really focused on the one from the index really leans into their kind of pacts with the different chaos gods and the different marks. So that one's a great way to represent your word
Cool. Can Chaos Space Marine players still make dark pacts with the gods?
Yes, they can. Yeah, and that's all the detachments still can. So it is, that
cool.
isn't locked to just the
I'm
word
actually
bearers.
painting orcs
the dark
in
packs
40K,
is their
but that's
army
now
ability.
taking a massive
You still have
backseat.
that. You can still go
Old
for your
world.
lethal or sustained hits.
Never played a game.
So they'll
Well,
still
actually,
be enjoying that ability as they go
I'd
further
played
into
a
the
really
game
wanted
of
to make
40K
sure that
back in
the whole
second
Chaos
edition or
Space Marine
something.
army has a very different feel to the Loyalist Marine armies.
Yeah, Cricket
You know,
Units, yeah.
fundamentally, they're all like big, dudes in power armor, right? So how do we make those things feel differently? Really leaning in from the Chaos Space Marines to the fact that they are empowered by the Dark Guards. They make those pacts, both from a rules point of view, but also, you know, the miniatures themselves, you see them, they don't just
isn't
look
it,
like
Mr. Gunner?
Space Marines that have gone
Absolutely.
evil.
Coming
They're
home.
kind of corrupted by the warp and fused with the dark powers.
And doing well by the
so
sound
we really
of
want
it,
to do that
so-
across everything, the artwork, the rules, the background sections, the photography,
Yeah,
really
those
trying to
dark
capture the
commune.
dark glory of chaos.
And they look cool. Yeah, Chaos
fantastic.
Cultists.
I'm excited. So going back to the two battle forces we've got, so the Dread Talons really appeal to me because I have a penchant for close combat, I think it's fair to say. So tell me about that set.
That one would be perfect for you, Si. It's really close combat focused. You've got the new Jump Pack Lord with his Raptor Bodyguard. You've also got the Demon Prince in there. You can build that as a wing Demon Print. So again, super fast, super fighty. And then the rest of that box is rounded out by a Cultist Horde, the Accursed Cultists and Cultists, kind of at least something that can hold on to the objectives that you've fled past and you're, you're on rushing charge. So yeah,
Did
great
you guys
box.
know,
like
is
an
Adepticon
expendable
actually
core
running
for my
today?
army.
Is that what it
See,
is?
I think I'm a bit
Is it
more
a Wednesday,
tactical than that.
Thursday,
So
Friday,
Veterans
Saturday,
of the
Sunday
Long
thing?
War box would
Because
appeal
we
more to
doing
me.
it
It's
on the
more of an
weekday, but
archetypal Chaos
guess
Space
it's
Marine force,
America.
right?
Yeah, so that one you have your Chaos Lord on foot, and then you've got the Legionaries in there, which he can join, or he can join
Any of
his
you guys
chosen as his
play
elite bodyguard.
Heresy?
Then you've got that anviled hammer unit with the Terminators
what I was
to,
more
to
interested
control
in.
the board. They're not quite as fast, so you're probably going to have to spend a little bit of time getting there, but you don't die anywhere as quickly, sir.
Drop them into the heart of the enemy and slaughter them wholesale.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So either
get on
one,
to some
very
fantasy
different playstyles, but
dudes.
you can enjoy them both. So.
Yeah, and they complement each other as well. So, why not get both?
So there we go. We've got two exciting new battle forces coming up very shortly for you guys. Stu, Josh, it's been an absolute pleasure talking about this. Thank you so much.
What a way to start, and that's not the
Back to
only
Lewis
thing
in
from
the
the
same room.
41st millennium we've got to show you. So don't go anywhere, 40k fans.
Maybe
There's
not.
plenty more where that came from. Next up, we're travelling deep within the mortal realms.
Oh, here we go. Sylvia. Right. Warcraft. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, that's where I got Sons of Horus. That's when I started that one. Oh no, it's my least favourite. Oh, I can't stand those figures.
So there we go. Warcry, Briar and Bone is on the way real soon. You can almost smell it on the air. My name's Nick, and joining me is John from the Warhammer studio.
Oh.
John, Warcry, Briar and Bone. Tell me all about it. What we got?
Okay, so very, very exciting box set. We've got a brand new bespoke warbands, both the Ossiarch Reapers and the Sylvaneth. In addition to which, we've got the Ravening Narwhal, which is a giant, horrible creature. It's pretty, really cool. It's a really, really nasty, horrible piece of terrain, which we'll get to in a little bit. So the Tyrannic cohort are a bit of an oddball one for the Ossiarch Bone Reapers because they're effectively exiled constructs.
do you
So the
guys
thing with
like
the Ossiarch Bone Reapers is very, very little
I don't
goes to
know,
waste.
yeah, the
Okay,
Ossiarch
everything
Bone
is
Reapers, I
built
just-
for a
I don't
purpose.
know, they just
Sometimes the
look
purpose is
weird.
punishment. Okay,
I get what
each
they
of
tried
the
to do, but,
creatures in the Tyrannic cohort, in addition to the Centaurs in charge, are creatures who are being punished by the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, some kind of perceived failure. So, we all know that the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, never flee, never retreat, win all the battles all the time. Well, that's just patently not true. Every now and again, something doesn't go quite
Definitely
right.
my case, yeah.
And either it's somebody's fault, at which point you're to blame, or, today it's your fault, so you're to blame. So what you end up with is a group of very fast, very mobile outriders. And part of the exile
Look at the
is
size
they
of
don't
those
want you
Space
around.
Marine shoulder pads.
Okay, so these creatures get sent out into the very, very outer wilds of the various different mortal realms. And in this instance, this particular warband has ended up in the Narwood because no one really wants to go in there. And the Ossiarch Bone Reapers are already starting to twitch a little bit because of the vast amounts of beast bone that have been made.
I don't mind those winged
And these are no exception. So they're
sort of guys. You could probably
crazed,
use them as
ferocious,
carrion.
feral, but
Yeah, well,
they've
Night
also got a
Nighthawk.
certain
So
element of
most of the figures are
clinical,
100
death-like
awesome. I just don't
emotions
like
about them as
OBR,
well. So
whatever it's
they're
called.
a warband of paradoxes. Very, very cool.
And the models are fantastic.
The models are very, very cool. Have you noticed the single eye?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So that's effectively the hook there is with the eyes of Catacross. So not Catacross himself specifically looking through them, but their masters can just see through their eyes because they're effectively outriders. So so the Centroid is in charge of all this. And it's his job to kind of keep everything in line and make sure and whip things into the right place and get things going where they're supposed to be. And The warband itself has a unique mechanic
doesn't
which
float my
doesn't exist
boat.
in other warbands
Yeah,
across
they look
Warcry, which is
awesome.
quite cool. So we're trying to
new vamps.
investigate
I mean,
different
most
ways
of the
of
AOS
applying,
range is awesome.
resources that
Just
everyone's
not a
familiar
big
with in
OBR
very different
fan.
ways. So what they get to do is they get to spend wild dice when they're using their abilities in order to empower them. So you get a short-term reward, and the opportunity cost there is that later on you're not going to have that wild dice to get initiative or boost it triple into a quad, whatever it might be. That's very much their shtick, as it were. And they're quite powerful individually. Certainly the two bodyguards and the Centroid are very strong. They're pretty decent fighters overall. The other fighters in the warband, the Bone Beasts and the Harpies, they're not quite so powerful, but obviously they make up for that by just sheer mobility and being able to support your other fighters in their attacks.
And we've got a Sylvaneth warband in the box as well, the Twisted.
Yeah, well, I think they're
That's
definitely going to
very
redo
Okay, so the
Skaven.
Twist Wheel are really, really cool. So their background is that each and every one of them is infected. Okay, they are not regular Sylvaneth at all. They've got a horrible infection which is corrupting them from the inside out. And one of the reasons they're called the Twist Wheel is because the Alarial
they got
Song of Life, they hear it in a very, very
tentacles
different
coming out
way.
of
It's
their
all
heads and
corrupted them,
stuff.
the strains are all very different, so they don't quite interact with them the same way. And what they're doing is they're trying to get back to Alarial in order to be cured. So the Swarm Sage in particular has dedicated themselves to trying to cure the Twist Wheel of their corruption and obviously expose themselves to it as well. And the danger is there that you get cut off from the Song of Life completely and you end up with this horrible warped, twisted creature. And no one really knows what happens there. But what the Swarm Sage is effectively doing
see this
is
guy
easing out
closer,
the corruption.
the middle
Corruption's
guy.
like you can see it on the models themselves.
So these are new
And the
dryads,
Swarm Sage
obviously.
uses its
Yeah, they
little
look pretty
crazy
cool.
swarm stuff to just chew off the corruption and
Yeah,
literally
this thing
tear it
is
out of their flesh.
weird.
And it hurts, it's rubbish. But
Like a more
there's power in
like
that.
the
Because
ogre
once
maw
the
pit,
corruption's torn out of you, you become more
above
energized,
ground.
and you're able to hear that Song of Life a little bit better. The warband itself functions
what the
around
hell's
the leader,
happening with his head?
dealing damage to your fighters in order to boost them up.
Oh, great.
And they can
that's
heal themselves
weird.
as well, because actually, healing is a huge part of the Sylvaneth.
Beehives.
But the actual playstyle of the warband is, you want to go hit things, because that's part of Warcry, go stab things, profit. But at the same time, you need to manage your fighters who are quite fragile, very, very carefully, otherwise they'll fall over dead by the time you boosted them up.
Is it more difficult than it sounds, or is it about as difficult as it sounds?
It's not terribly difficult
Okay.
because the damage that she deals to your fighters is locked behind abilities. So you need to have the abilities in order to be able to do it.
Okay.
So most of the time you're like, I've got my status, I've got my fighting stats, just like a regular game of Warcry. And where I go from there is I've got to decide who gets damaged when by the abilities I've got, and then obviously you can heal them up as well. Okay, and then the quad is pretty beefy as well. It can do a lot of damage.
I
think
don't
probably
really
one of the most
understand. Oh,
interesting
crap.
things,
Sorry, Andrew's here.
for this warband are the variety of different
Sorry,
fighters.
dude.
So you've got some corrupted dryads in
I
there.
was looking at my screen.
Regular dryads, but again, they've got the horrible corruption. They're
You
actually
there?
a lot stronger and a lot tougher
Can you
than
hear me?
regular dryads. And you've also got some tree revenants in there as well, with a variety of weapons you've not seen before. So there's a
Can you
tree
hear me,
revenant
man?
there with quite a large bow, and they've got a very interesting profile.
Yeah.
I'd be very excited to see what people do with that, because it's damage done in a very, very different way.
Yeah, I think
Ranged
Warcry's
damage,
awesome
I should say,
game
done in a
by the
very
sound of it.
different
I haven't
way
got
than
it.
normally do in Warcry.
Can you hear?
And
You're
then
on,
you've got
Andrew,
some
but I
fighters
don't know
who are
if
actually
we can
quite
hear you.
tough for Sylvaneth fighters. There's
you
spy
can.
fighters in
Yep,
there with
now I
shields,
can.
which is quite
Yep,
good, and the
just.
spear gives you extra bit of reach. And then, of course, there's the
Yeah, that's
there's the
fine. All
corrupted
good. I don't know how
spike
long you're
weapons
waiting there.
with the briar
Sorry,
lash.
I'm just looking at these
Take
weird
your initiative
Warcry
to get them in
models.
the right place at the right time.
Now, John, this box also comes with what must be my favourite terrain piece for Warcry for a long time, the Ravening Gnarlmaw. Tell me
You
all
still
about
getting
it.
Well,
feedback
you've
off
chosen a
Andrew?
good one to be your favourite. It's one of the more creepy pieces I've seen so far.
Hey,
So the Ravening
Gilthos said
Gnarlmaw is
feedback off
a
Andrew, but I don't know if it's still happening or
terrifying
not.
piece of kit. So it's like any other Gnarloak. It's a giant predatory flesh tree.
Oh, mad echo
that
over
burrows
Andrew.
into you,
Maybe
drinks
I have to
blood,
cut that
and then
then.
hangs you from its
Might have to kick you
branches to
out.
just slowly drain the life out of you.
God, it's an awful place.
It's horrific. Now,
Yeah, mute
these
yourself.
things
Yeah.
are
Is that
terrifying.
better?
And the Gnarlwood is full of them. And of course, the Gnarlwood
Sorry,
is
guys.
also full of just people who live
He's
there
muted.
or around us.
That should be better.
And every now and again, they get it into their heads that maybe they can
I bet you
kinda
can talk
have
now, so
tame
it's
one of
a
these
bit
things. No,
useless.
that's impossible. It's laughable.
You got the
concept.
kids in
Taming
the
anything
car.
bigger is generally a very bad idea. So what they do is they
Dedicated.
kind of
This is
tie it to its
dedicated
stomach
old
to make
world
sure it doesn't move
fanatics
off too much or eat them in their sleep. Okay, and then they make like a little sacrificial altar out of it. And
You haven't
when a
missed anything.
Gnarloak
They haven't done any fantasy.
doesn't
Oh, sorry,
really
they've done
need
this,
to go
but that
anywhere
doesn't
to
really
feed,
count.
it kind of turns into one of these things. It's one of the many different creatures this thing can spawn out of, because obviously the magic.
It
in the
feels
realm
like
can
they're
twist
trying
it
to
in all
like
kinds of horrible manners.
talk yourself
So
into how
effectively, what
good
people will do is they'll go, okay, as long as we
the
feed
lore
you,
is, but I just keep going
you
on
just
about it. I'm
scare
like,
off all the other Gnarlokes and maybe eat whatever isn't us. Now, the Gnarloke has absolutely no concept of like
Yeah,
anything that's
extra
going on,
young,
really.
next
It just gets fed
generation,
every day,
old
so
world
it sits still,
fanatics.
right? But yeah, people will
Hopefully.
drag it up onto that bamboo platform, chuck people into the maw, kick people. And then you can do that during the game as well, which is obviously tons of fun. You know, you got to be really careful if you're standing up. But you know, it provides a bit of interesting. It provides players an interesting question when they're playing the game. That okay, so it's a platform, it's high up, it's a vantage point. It's quite a useful place to be. And if there's an objective up there, there's a treasure token or something, you really want to go up there. You got to be quite careful. You don't just move up there, pick up the treasure, and then end your turn, because otherwise, you know, in comes the clothesline and over you go and you're dead.
John, thank you so much for talking to us about Warcry, Briar, and Bone. Thank you guys too, but stay around. There's more.
Yeah, no, Matt, you're probably right. It does seem like it's getting better. I know nothing about Underworld. Obviously, oh, that's cool. What the hell that is? But you could use some of these guys as fanatics. I mean, not fanatics, they're called flagellants. But they'd be $50 for one. Probably wouldn't help. Cool.
So there we go. The new Warhammer Underworlds box is just over the horizon. My name's Nick, and I've got John
he's
in the
back.
Warhammer studio to talk all about it. John,
He's going to try
good to have you here, man.
convince
Thank you
him.
very
Oh, they've got the
much.
game
What's
set up
Wintermore?
now this time.
So Wintermore is the next evolution in the story of Deathgorge. So
no, we're gonna
Deathgorge
get
was
a
a
history
large
lesson.
ravine, and now what happened is we've gone beneath that again to even deeper underworlds.
It's even colder
We're now
down
under
here.
the underworlds. Yeah.
Deathly
It's absolutely
allergic
awful
to
down there.
AOS lore,
No one's having any
yeah.
fun. It is a miserable, horrible, cold.
How much
frigid place
is
to be.
a war-
There are
an
horrible giant
underworld
worms trying to eat
box?
you alive.
I don't even
There
know.
are horrible parasites crawling in the dark, trying to eat your brain, drink your soul. It's just terrible. And obviously we've got these poor unfortunates here who are right bang in the middle of it.
They've not been wrapped up warm.
Yeah, the bottles are
No,
awesome.
no, not even. They've got faith and absolute craziness to keep them warm. So their delusions are keeping them well toasty.
So, of course, the new season box. It's
Yep.
perfect place to start playing the game, of course.
Unquestionably.
And also great for people who already play the game as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's something here for everybody. If you're a current fan of Warhammer Underworlds,
Does everyone think this
War bands,
Our
got a
World
stack of random
release
decks in
is
there as
going to
well.
be dwarves?
Loads of
Do we
different
think that?
playstyles, loads of cool new mechanics to engage with.
Do you-
If
you
you're
do
brand
that,
new to the
Andrew?
game,
Yep, you're
again,
pretty
it's absolutely
convinced.
perfect.
Okay.
You've got everything in there you need to play the game. You've got your rule book, you've got war bands, you can play against somebody else. They don't even need to get their own box set. You can just play both the same one. And they've all got Rivals decks. So there's plenty of like replayability in there as well. You can swap Rivals decks around. You can do Nemesis. You can do Rivals, whatever you like. So loads
$50
to get stuck
US.
into.
Okay.
Now we've got to talk
Yeah.
about the
Oh,
miniatures.
short runs. So
Because
once
they
they're out,
are
they're out.
just
Yeah,
brilliant.
that's
There's
annoying.
2 brand new war bands in here. Tell us about them, John. What we got?
So where would you like to start? Would you like to start with the delusional Flesh Eater Courts or the arguably just as delusional Brethren of the Bolt?
We'll start with the slightly more delusional ones.
Slightly more delusional ones. All right,
Yeah.
so we'll go for the
So
Flesh Eater
the
Courts.
Flesh
So,
Eater Corps are part
this
of
particular
Flesh
war
Eater
band,
Corps.
Their
What's the
whole
other
shtick is walking
army
up to enemy
thing here?
fighters
What
and
are they?
whacking lumps off them with their massive cleavers and chains and hooks and all
Oh,
that stuff.
Guildford.
Tearing
You think
them
that
east
tank that
in the perfect
Peachy was
way
talking
to
about?
serve their lord. And they're broadly
That'd be
speaking
bloody
an aggro
awesome.
style war bands. What that means for people who
I don't know if you
understand
saw
the term
that, Andrew,
is they're
but
all about
do you know
getting stuck them in
Peachy,
the face
Andrew? Maybe
and
not.
shanking you
Well, so
with
he's
all
the guy
hard
that was that
rusty
painting
cleavers and
guy
spikes they've
at
got
Games
attached to
Workshop,
themselves.
and he just
the way
did a
this war
dwarf
band
video
functions
a
very
week ago or
different
something,
is
saying that when he
there's
was
no
at the
recursion. People
studio,
don't come
when the
back
8th
to
edition
life.
book came
So
out,
ordinarily what would happen
had
is as soon as you kill a
plastic
ghoul, 3
painted
more to replace them. However, these
dwarf
are all
tanks, and then they
very,
actually
very highly
didn't put it
trained
in the
chefs,
army
right?
book.
They're the absolute peak of their art. So they're not very
I don't
easy
have
to
the
replace.
steam
And
tank,
as a
but, you know,
result,
whatever you
you
call it.
only get what you start with.
Okay, so they sound absolutely disgusting, but on the other side of the board, we've got the Brethren of the Bolt.
Correct.
Who are
True.
these
So
guys?
what faction
so
do they?
Brethren
I
of the
mean, I
Bolt
guess they don't have to go by the normal
they're
AOS
part of the
faction.
Cities of Sigmar faction.
Oh,
Broadly
it is.
speaking,
There
they're
you
all
go.
human.
Cities of Sigmar.
For now.
Mileage may vary. And
reckon you could
they are
add some of these
effectively
into some
the worshippers of
flagellants.
Sigmar. They're the crazy flagellant side of things. However, they have a very, very unique alignment in the sense that they've all been in some way, shape or form struck by lightning.
That one's
Now, some of them believe
disturbing.
that they were intentionally struck by Sigmar's divine lightning. Some of them were just hitting the head really hard. But they've all got some kind of interaction with the Azerian.
Yeah, that's a good call.
heavenly
Mr. Gunner
divine
said he'd rather a
sonship.
dwarf zeppelin than a
And
tank.
they
Absolutely.
do a couple of unique things.
That'd be cool.
There's 2 really big ones that I'd like to touch on in the time we've got, which is that the first one is they all start inspired because they start with this kind of etheric charge attached to them. Every time they blast you with their divine tasers, what happens is all that charge goes out of them, nukes whatever's in front of you, and then all the lightning goes away. At which point they need to be recharged. So what happens is, as you fight through, you can fight through your fighters. So which can increase the range of your melee attack actions, which is really, really good. So it means you're never really quite safe as the opponent. You've really got to play around them very carefully. But effectively, whenever you tase an enemy through one of your friends, they inspire again and they get charged up, which is great. They're a lot of fun to play. They're quite hilarious. Some of the cards are very funny too, and they're really cool.
So the Wintermore box doesn't just come with those warbands, it also comes with 2 Rivals decks that anyone can use for any warband. Tell us about those.
Absolutely. So again, really good incentive to get the box set if you don't even collect these warbands. And of course, when you're playing them, you can swap them around as much as you like. So we start with Rhymeworm's Bite, which is effectively an environmental disaster deck. So
it's not,
these
I don't know, I
horrible
just
giant
don't
worms just come plowing through the board and just
board
devour
game.
the path. And what the deck allows you to
Rather
do is
play
not
Blood
necessarily
Bowl.
manipulate them, but effectively get out of the way first.
The models are good.
Now there's a second Rivals deck in there as well called the Hungering Parasite deck, which is really unique, isn't it? How's it work?
Okay, so the Hungering
Did they do a
Parasite
Zeppelin for
is
Warmaster,
a
did they?
tiny little
That's all, I
fragment
didn't
of
know
Goblin Stracatoa, which is this horrible big amorphous glob goo thing. And this tiny little fragment is frozen off and broken. So it's this tiny little bit of a goblin that's scuttling around. And effectively it's just
Swipe
this
just said
frozen
that
chunk.
the
And then
Warcry
whenever
and
something living
Underworld's
gets near it,
models are
it
great, but
falls
the
just
rules
enough
are
just to
terrible.
latch
I
onto it.
always
The
heard
deck
Warcry
is
was a
designed
good
towards it.
game.
It's a really
It's just whether or not you want to
control style
play
deck. You've got to manipulate
skirmish
the position of either the
games.
fighter with the parasite, be it yours or your opponent's, or you've got to kill people with the parasite, or you've got to make sure the parasite's in the right place at the right time. It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds it.
Because obviously your fighter's uninspired, so they're just not good. They're probably never going to get much better throughout the course of the game. But in addition to that, at the end of a round, if there's no one for the parasite to latch onto, it feeds. Okay, so if there's enemies nearby, they all get staggered.
Just seems like this guy's talking more about the rule, which I guess is sort of good,
The
but
fighter with the parasite takes damage.
you come to a reveal to see the models, not
John, thank you so much
too
for coming
much
to talk
about
to us
the
about Warhammer Underworld's
backstory of
Wintermore.
them
It's
all.
been great to look through the box sets, but keep with us, guys. There's more coming up
Nah,
soon.
we'll see.
Some fantastic releases there, and that's not the only announcement we'll have for Warhammer Age of Sigmar during the show either. What could it be? I hear you cry. Well, more on that later. Until then, check these out.
How long is this reveal going for? Oh god, that's cool. What the hell is that thing? Oh, they've copied the. Oh, that is that. Sorry, that is that. I was going to say that's in Cities of Sigmar guy.
Oh, wow, what a miniature. Abraxia, Spear of the Everchosen. We are joined here by Matt and Phil from the Warhammer Studio, guys. Pleasure to have you with us to talk about this great new miniature. Phil, I'll start with you. Abraxia, who is she?
She is none other than the right-hand woman of Archaon Everchosen.
She.
This woman is in control of
That's
the
pushing it.
Varangard. That is no small feat because, of course, every member of the Varangard is a Chaos Lord or above. And so she has essentially got incredible martial power. She's been tasked with striking
That's
into
good
Gairan,
Chaos Lord to put on your
snuffing
dragon.
out the flames of hope that Sigmar has
sure.
established there. Now, she has a spear, Gorbolgo, which is like essentially a mutating spear. Anything touched by that will turn into an awful Chaos spawn. It will also mutate
these
her unless she keeps
Chaos
the range,
models in
unless she
AOS
keeps her
got so much
concentration.
trim, hey?
The
They
one
take
time she
so
had a
long to
lapse of
paint, even though they're all
concentration,
black.
Horns grew out of her head. It's essentially a,
hate when that happens.
It's a test. It's a test from Archaon. That spear is very dangerous.
Girl
stuff.
boss of the
To see
Everchosen.
if she's worthy of the role. She's riding the Thanatorg, this great scaly beast. She hits like a ton of bricks, and behind her come the Swords of Chaos themselves.
That's so cool.
So the inner core of the Varangard, aren't they? The sort of
Absolutely, yeah.
You could
We
almost
see
just
her
whack some wings on
essentially
that model as well.
Cutting a red
It'd be
sway through
fine.
Gairan. It doesn't go all her way. She unfortunately
right.
contracts something rather nasty in the process.
What
from the
base is a
flesh into
demon?
curse and starts
What's a
to get
demon
the
mount? What's
delusion of
a
flesh
demon?
eaters.
What's it called?
She has to go and deal with that by
Demonic mount.
conquering
What
a
size
certain
base
place.
is
But
that?
no spoilers. You have to wait and see.
That's great.
50 by 50?
Minus spoilers.
Minus spoilers. Minus spoilers. Yeah.
That can't be helping keep on top of her spear, can it?
Well, indeed. Well, that's the journey. We, right from the get-go, we see a character that is really having to keep the balance and hang on, for dear life. And whether she makes it through, whether she has the willpower and the skill, you'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, quite overt price of power.
Ah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Well,
Oh,
it's
you're pretty big, might
Archaon's
get it.
world, so this is
Yeah,
the big
maybe.
leagues.
As a
And she,
wyvern, yeah.
As you can see when you see her on the battlefield as well.
So speaking of which, she comes as part of Abraxia's Varan spear, so it's her and 3 Varangard. That sounds devastating. How does she play on the battlefield?
Yeah, so obviously, given her role on the battlefield, kind of as the head of the Varen Guard, she has very, very strong synergy, particularly very strong command synergy
with Varengard. So really, really
That ogre guy is so weird.
cool
with his
seeing
little-
that. As Phil talked about, her kind of mutating
Backpack
spear
thing.
that can have a risk for herself, can power up, can kind of do damage and mutate nearby enemies. But it's really the synergy with the Varengard where you're really getting that big value. You can also take Abraxia with Battle Line Varengard in her Army of Renown featured in the book. And that gives you a whole new host of tricks to build and play with an army that is one of the most elite armies, if not the most elite armies in all of Age of Sigmar. Really focusing in on the Varengard and their power.
That sounds absolutely terrifying.
I'm going to get painting straight away. Man.
You probably expect nothing less from Archaon's Death Television.
Yeah.
Nick's
Well, thanks for
always
joining us,
excited
Matt.
about
Phil,
everything.
if you don't mind
isn't he?
hanging
That
around,
guy.
we've got more with you very shortly. So hang around, folks. We've got more to come.
So over the course of the Dawnbringers story arc, we've seen two crusades, the twin-tailed crusade we call it, head out from Hammerhal Aksha, and Hammerhal Gairan. And they have had so many trials and tribulations over the course of this storyline. We've seen them rise and fall, have moments of triumph and moments of real tragedy. So what we've seen in Hammerhal Aksha, is the crusade heading out eastwards. They think they've found somewhere there that is viable, that they can defend, which is the ruins of an old city called Embergard. And it's kind of like a haunted place, really, and they had a lot of trouble with nasties in the basement, the Night Haunt that dwelt there, but they have now managed to claim that space, and Sinestra and the Cult of the Wheel have taken that place with conviction and faith. Now in Gairan, we've seen them thrash their way through jungles and forests, scabrous
AOS
sprawls,
models are good, these new
swamplands,
ones, especially
mangroves.
Cities of Sigmar.
They've basically
They
had a
look
horrible
awesome.
time of it, trying to get up north.
Troll
and found their own
Hanger
city
Quake
called
thing.
Verdigris.
Yeah, no,
Verdigris
all
is
troll army coming.
looking
I
like
did actually
maybe
pick
that's
up
going
3
to work
trolls
out,
today.
but we'll
So
see
I
what
lied that
happens
there
over the
wasn't
course
any
of the
Goons
Dawnbringers
fight.
series.
There just wasn't any
Abraxia, the
goblins.
Spear of the Everchosen, she is
went to
the
Frontline
right-hand
today
woman of
and I
Archaon
was like,
himself,
near there,
the
and I went,
Supreme
"Oh,
Grand
what's in
Marshal
here?"
of Chaos. And she's
But there was
part
no
of
night goblins or anything.
Varengard.
Oh.
The Varengard are like
3
elite
trolls by
Chaos
them.
Lords. Every one of them is sort of Chaos Lord power. She's fought her way up from the fighting pits of the Varanspire. Ever since she was a child, she's been really good with a spear, and she has no morals at all about who she kills and when she kills them, so she is a real fearsome character. The only catch here is that Archaon doesn't fully trust her and actually wants to test her. So he's given her the spear called Bolga, this magic spear, and although it mutates everything it touches, so all you need to do is scratch your enemy and then they devolve into a horrible spawn thing, it can also do that to the wielder if the wielder loses their
Tricia's
concentration.
done a lot of good monsters
that did
in
happen
her
once
time.
in Abraxia's history, and that's why she has those horns. It only took a momentary lapse of her concentration, and she started to mutate.
That troll
So
hag's
with that
awesome.
spear,
Can't wait to get her.
Archaon is testing Abraxia. Provided she stays in control, so long as she does, things
Oh, is it?
are peachy.
Swope
but,
saying Azhag
she
the
cannot
Slaughter
afford
was
to
trash.
fail. So we talked a bit about
Was it?
Abraxia right
Okay.
at the top end, the higher echelons of the Chaos power struggle. Right at the bottom there, we have tribesmen, basic people like you and I who are trying to get by out in the wilderness, and the Dark Oath exemplify that. They make bargains with the Dark Powers to try and survive, and Gunnar Brand and his family are a great example of that. So
They're
Gunnar
awesome
Brand
looking.
himself is not just a big fighter, he's very powerful in combat, but he's also kind of the brains of the operation. He's a very clever dude, and he doesn't really want to see his family slide into chaos. Neither does he want to particularly kowtow to Sigmar. He, like all Dark Oath, he's got a massive chip on his shoulder about the fact that Sigmar basically bailed on them, and they had to resort to these dark methods to survive. He's got his daughter Singri with him, a sort of expert horse archer. Tanari Takblood.
Hey, Plasma David, you haven't missed any fantasy yet, at least old world.
It's not that simple if you're enthralled to chaos. He starts getting involved in the Archaon's grand
I reckon you could just do up a
the
whole
pawns that are
Chaos
moving
army
around
with
the
these
board,
guys and just
and
props
some
the
hidden
big ones as
forces
Chaos
lurking
warriors,
in the
because they're
shadows
big enough.
that are also effectively using the Dark Oath
imagine
as,
they would
as
be.
pawns. So running parallel to this story, we also see some old friends, Vandus Hammerhand and Korgos Kol, the mighty lord of Khorne, his nemesis. Now these are characters we brought into play at the beginning of the Realmgate Wars, many years ago, 8-9 years ago now. It's gone from essentially a small vendetta into an all-consuming passion for Vandus Hammerhand. All he wants is to get his revenge on Kull. Kull killed his sons in a former life, way back when he was mortal, and he is definitely obsessing about it now. It's kind of bringing things off kilter.
They're really doing a lot on the
maybe
lore, aren't they?
splitting the crusade. And
You won't get
splitting
this
the
much lore
loyalties
when they
of the
do the
people
old world
that should
review. They
be
just show the
united
model.
in the face of chaos to pursue his own agenda. Now, Korgos Kull, all he needs to turn into a demon prince is that last skull to cap his pyramid, to the real capstone to what he's been working on all these years. And so he has his own agenda, and it doesn't go the way you think it might. So I'm looking forward to people seeing how that story, that ancient rivalry, actually ends in Dawnbringers. So Dawnbringers is not only ending an era, the era of the Beast, where we've seen destruction in the driving seat. We see that come to an end in Dawnbringers, but we also see the beginning of a new era. And there
Guess
are
you could also
signs
use
for
that
those
troll.
who are paying attention
What's
of what
the
that
name?
might
It's
be,
the troll hag.
and where that might
If you
lead.
wanted to use a different model, that
On a
huge,
personal
whatever it's
level as
called.
well. So Vandus is a good example of that. He is not his former self,
Yeah,
and
Troggoth.
his journey.
What's
He's
the big
almost
Troggoth called in AOS?
exemplary
Can't
of
remember.
what the Stormcast have to deal with as they die and are reforged and die and are reforged, and their souls pay the price over time. So
SS,
where
they
his
said
journey leads
there's a
is really
army list
interesting,
going
and
around,
we'll open a new
Stormcast,
chapter
but
of
it's
the
just
story as a result of
basically
that.
renamed
So one of the
ogres,
great things about the
but
Dawnbringers series is we've seen
you could
people on
use
the
it if
ground,
you wanted
boots
to
on the
square
ground
base the
story.
Stormcast.
But throughout that, there have been little happenstances and agendas and clashes where a greater story is unfolding. And it's been done in secret, it's behind the scenes
that
because
new?
the people
The hell is
orchestrating the
that?
story, and I'm talking gods here and demigods, are not keen on showing their
There's a
hand
couple of
till the
scenery
last minute.
pieces
And
I've
it
seen I
ends
wanna
with this
try and get.
great climactic explosion
pretty cool.
of violence. Of course it does, it's Warhammer, and the Mortal Realms will never be the same again.
So what's this up to? 6. Book 6. Bloody hell.
So that was a fantastic video showing off Dawnbringers 6. Here with me is Phil. Thank you for joining me.
He looks a bit like Harry Potter.
So we've seen the Twin-Tailed Crusade set off from Hammerhall Akshar and Hammerhall Gyra. They faced an awful lot of trouble getting to where they are.
That's fair.
Can you sort of summarise what the Dawnbringer story has brought us so far?
Yeah, so we've seen two crusades, and by crusades, these are definitely the largest that the Sigmarite cities have put out yet. Statement of intent, really. Sigmar has to put his flag in the sand and say, everything's going fine, by the way, and we're definitely
Styled by
founding these,
Lego.
these cities. More of a morale and
It
propaganda
is the
thing,
perfect Lego
than
snap-on
anything else.
hair.
But
Wish I could put that
unfortunately,
on
as is
my
the way
head.
of Warhammer and the way of the Mortal Realms, it has not gone smoothly. We know that one city will rise and one city will fall, and that leads us into some new characters and some new adventures.
You mentioned new characters there. We've got Abraxia, the Spear of the Everchosen. Can you tell us a little bit about her backstory? Because we've not seen her before.
We discussed a little bit about how she's the preeminent warlord of chaos and the leader of the Varangard.
If they're talking this much about this,
Our
are
chaos
they
right-hand
actually
woman.
going to
She grew up in
reveal
the fighting pits of the
4th
Varanspire,
edition? They're not
the
stuff
8
if they
points.
will.
So this is a kind of a sub-realm.
Maybe
where
they just do
chaos
another
rules
sneak peek of some
Sarkhan's seat
Skaven
power.
and do a bigger
she was
release
born
later.
there. She
'Cause
grew
this
up
was supposed
there
to be
and
the
she has
AOS
had
full
a
launch,
very
people
bloody
were
history
rumouring.
from day one, from being an infant
So why
really,
they
all
do
the way
that.
up to her current incarnation. She's had to strive to overcome
this
all the chaos
Dawnbringer
tyrants
stuff.
and rivals and would-be kings, and she's risen to the top. She really is that good, to the point that
Mr.
Archaon
Gunner, is that
actually
actually
is
G-Dub?
testing
Is that what
her,
you're saying? You
essentially, and
ordered the
testing her
cards and then
as
they
a
didn't give
general
them to you?
by giving her the most powerful stuff and the
annoying.
most elite troops. She better not fail.
We've seen the Forces of Destruction, the Forces of Order. This feels like
I really didn't
a
know this would be
culmination,
going on
and
this
now we're
long.
seeing
I thought
sort
it was
of
gonna be like a
chaos
15-minute
stamp its
stream.
mark on the Twin-Tailed Crusade. Can you give us a little hint as to what the plan is here?
Obviously, the Forces of Order have by no means overtaken the lands or conquered
That's annoying.
what
My
they
one,
lost. Chaos
Mr.
is
Gunner,
still
my
very much in
annoying
the
thing with
driving
them
seat
is
in Age of
I bought
Sigmar.
EPUBs
The Forces of
accidentally,
Sigmar,
well
the
not
God King,
accidentally, it
are
was their
trying
fault,
to
off the
strike back,
GW
and they've
side.
made some inroads.
And now they're just
some
stuck in my
beachheads,
cart.
but
Or in my orders.
9/10 of the land is still in
list
the
is
Forces
pending,
of Darkness,
even though
one
they've
way or
already
another.
refunded
So
me.
every
It's
time
just sitting
Sigmar
there.
tries to
It's
set
so
something up,
frustrating.
there's a Chaos Force nearby waiting to knock it down. And we've seen various incarnations of that over the years. But this is a real precision strike. This is Archaon sending out his brightest and his best.
Yeah, it's like
to
any
make
business
a
plan,
counter-statement,
David,
say,
totally.
no, you don't get to found
It's
two
not
new
uncommon
cities.
to
I'm going
split
to destroy those.
P&Ls
Everything you
down
set
business
up, I'll
units,
knock
pretty-
down.
pretty
So
common.
we're really seeing a battle effectively between Sigmar
I think they
and
could do a better
Archaon
job
here,
just tracking
but through his
though, or
foremost
use
general,
customer
through his champion.
surveys maybe,
And she's a
ask
really
the
interesting
client,
character.
customer, what
So
the
you
hell they're
mentioned
buying
that
things
the
for,
Forces
wouldn't be
of
that hard.
Chaos have been knocking down everything that the
And you
Forces
get
of
it
Order
pretty
have attempted
close.
to build. Now, in this book, there's mention of the Nexus Chaotica. Can you give us a little bit of information about what that is? Because I
this
think
this
that's relevant to this.
piece
I
of
love that
scenery?
thing. It's just so metal. Essentially, this is a kind of like a power siphon, a chaos engine, really. And where they place these things, much like the Dawnbringers are trying to put their Nexus siphons and their aquiliths and essentially drain the land of the magical force. Or
Do you reckon
employ
you
the
could put that
magical
on a
inherent
5
force
by
of the realms.
5-inch
The chaos version is
template
corrupting
and use it
and
as a
twisting and bleeding the realms
speed.
dry, and that's what we see in this form. So any
pretty cool.
wizard,
You
any
could use that as
sorcerer,
a
chaos
piece of
sorcerer near that
impossible.
can draw on the power from the Nexus Chaotica. It's like another sign
Dwarf
that chaos is
reveal or
striking
we
back.
riot.
That was fantastic. There's a lot to look forward to there. Thank you very much for joining me, Phil.
No problem.
And for everybody at home,
Thanks,
there's
Phil.
some more fantastic reveals coming.
Now we are cooking. Another set of absolutely awesome releases and some really insightful stuff from the studios on what's to come too. Very exciting stuff. Now, time for a little teaser and another reveal.
Kill team. No, no. Oh no, escaping. It seems too electronic. Horus Heresy. No, no, it is. Oh, it is. Dark Mechanicum.
Well, Alex, I may be no lore master, but I'm pretty sure I could put 2 and 2 together based on what we've just seen. Or maybe that should be 1 and 0 because it's binary.
Yeah.
Indeed, there were some fantastic clues there, including one big red one.
Yeah, and of course, if you reckon you know what it is yourself, why not join us on social media and tell us what you reckon it is?
Head over to Warhammer Community for all of the details, and don't go anywhere, we've got some more fantastic reveals coming.
There we are. Dwarves are up. Yeah. Oh, the Hewer. It's back. Sold. Classics. Ah, there we go. Nice.
So, we've just seen a fantastic video showing off some beautiful models for the Dwarven Mountain Holds. So
God,
these
the
guys are
light
getting
looks
some
excited.
attention now in the old world. Thank you guys for joining me. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Dwarven Mountain Holds and how they play?
So what we've seen is a whole bunch of classic miniatures that are going to be coming back to the range. I know a lot of Warhammer players are very excited to see some of these miniatures come back, but we've also just had a very gentle teaser of some of the new stuff that might be coming alongside some of the other bits and bobs we've got going on with the Dwarven Mountain Holds.
Brilliant. We saw warriors, longbeards.
Yeah, we saw some Thunderers and Quarrelers, we saw warriors, we saw Longbeards. The other things that we've seen in there, we've seen some of the Slayer units. We've seen
So,
our
are they
Goblin
redos
Healer
or are they new?
returning.
Are
We've
they
seen our
those-
Doomseekers coming back
They're old.
and championing the Slayers. We've also seen a brand new miniature that I imagine we'll dive into in a little bit.
We also saw some range there with the cannons, and just in that last shot there with the whole army, we saw the Anvil of Doom in the background.
The Goblin
yes,
Hero, isn't it?
Dwarf players will rejoice at the return of the Anvil of Doom, I'm sure, boosting and bolstering the Dwarven lines and sort of smiting some runes to have a go at the enemy as well. And no Dwarven line is complete without some artillery.
Of course. What sort of artillery can we expect? Because we've seen some of them in the Forces of Fantasy.
So we've got the classic bolt thrower and grudge throwers returning. Any traditional dwarf worth their salt will be happy to see those returning. And then we've got some of the newfangled things. We've got cannons and organ guns returning as well. So even those younger, more sort of up-and-coming engineers who like their black powder will be happy to see them coming back.
So in the Forces of Fantasy, you were always able to bring, say, a gun line or quite a static force. They could move a little bit, but what does this the range bring now? What other ways can we play Dwarven Mountain Holds?
Well, as you say, you've got your very traditional sort of gun line that we've seen in previous editions. Lots of thunderers and artillery sort of being arrayed on a hill and blasting away at the foe as they come. But you've got sort of the more dwarven traditional approach of relying on good old-fashioned technology that's worked for generations. You things, your quarrelers and, as I say, your bolt throwers and your grudge throwers, and just good old-fashioned dwarven steel. Sometimes there's nothing more satisfying than taking a well-made dwarven axe and applying it to some goblins.
Speaking of
Is that JTY
slightly
as a Gilthos? I thought he
older
was a bit younger.
miniatures, I did notice a certain dwarf on a cart in that video.
Yes, we do have the return of the Bugman's
That's
cart.
got to be old.
Obviously,
Hey,
one of the
that
things
was
we saw was a beautiful army shot at the end there, with everything ready to go. How would you go about starting a Dwarven Mountain Holds force? What would you bring together as your core, and what might you add to that afterwards?
So the backbone, the core of any dwarf army is the warriors and the missile troops, be that handguns or quarrelers. Dwarves traditionally fight in shield walls,
Swear it
fighting
was
with
third
great
edition or
weapons and their
something, that
shields and
bloody
cities
pony
locked
thing.
together,
I don't know.
supported by
That
dwarf
guy there,
cavalry
so which
crossbows
one's
and
he?
handguns. And
don't
all of this
recognise him.
supported with lots of artillery, from very traditional dwarf artillery pieces like the bolt throwers, the grudge throwers, more modern war machines such as cannons and flame cannons, and less honourable war machines such as the Goblin Hewer. All of this capped off and supported by airborne cavalry in the form of gyrocopters and gyro bombers. Some of these are quite new inventions. Some of these are quite old traditional things that dwarfs rely on.
The core box, that dwarf warrior box, how flexible is that? Because I remember in the past that you could build it with hand weapons, with great weapons. So how does that feature into the new army?
Oh, it's a very flexible kit, as it always was. As you say, it allows you to build dwarf warriors with hand weapons and shields, dwarf warriors with great weapons. The alternative kit, the missile troops, allows you to build them with dwarf handguns or crossbows. So again, very, very diverse kits that can be used to make warriors in different types. Also can be used to make rangers, can be used to make missile troops. Lots and lots of variety from just a few kits.
So these are the dual kits that are returning. The hammerers and longbeards and the iron breakers and iron drakes.
Yeah, these are the kits that represent the more elite parts of your army, the hammerers being the Thanes and the King's personal bodyguard, the longbeards being the older, more seasoned dwarfs who grumble their way through a battle but are not very afraid of anything. The solid backbone of the army, the dwarfs who the young beardlings look to for leadership and inspiration.
When protecting a king, we can't not mention that gorgeous new miniature. We've got a king on.
Not sure the paint job's that great. It looks very too
big
clean.
Old shield being carried around.
How they take photos
What's it like working with that kit?
The new dwarf king with shield bearers. It's a stunning kit. Allows you to make a dwarf king with shield bearers and an alternate dwarf king or thane on foot. The astute watchers will have noticed that the shield is now borne aloft by 3 dwarfs, not 2, making it a far more large and impressive kit that takes up the space of 4 models within a unit, and looks absolutely amazing when ranked up amongst the hammerers, amongst their personal bodyguard. This is a kit that comes with a couple of different build options. You can have the dwarf king with a hand weapon and shield being borne aloft, and a thane on foot with a great weapon, or vice versa. You can change the components up and build it in a couple of different ones.
As long as they didn't do like the Tomb King and can't really build the second one.
Years before the reign of Karl Franz, are there any returning characters we might expect? As dwarves are quite a long-lived race, so I can imagine there might be some people or names that we can recognise that are still alive, now and later on.
Yes,
still alive.
You should say dwarfs are quite long-lived. There's definitely going to be a few names that people will recognise from the old days of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. One character who I believe we saw there in the video was Ungrim Ironfist, and in our time period, he is the king of the Slayerhold, and what we get to look at him now as a younger, more vibrant, more active dwarf.
There you go.
And he's not the only one. There's going to be a couple of other characters whose names will definitely be recognised.
Certainly taller.
Certainly taller.
So we've seen some brilliant older models coming back and a couple of glimpses at some fantastic new ones. Thank you very much for showing us everything and for telling us all about them. Dan, Jonathan, thank you for joining us.
Our pleasure.
For those of you watching at home, there's some more fantastic reveals coming up, so don't go anywhere.
Oh, there we go.
Welcome back. Enjoying yourself? Good. Don't forget, you can let us know which releases you're most excited about by hitting us up on any of our socials. And you can remind yourself of all the releases you've seen after the show over on the Warhammer community website too. I know, you've seen enough of me and I promised some more 40k action, didn't I? Well, let's dive back in with some more announcements and maybe even another little teaser too.
Yeah, see Andrew, man, I don't even know how long I'll stay. I would like to see Skate. See you, dude.
So I'll head off, but yeah, I'll catch up with you later. Maybe we can do a bit of a post little rundown next day or so. All right, cheers. Thanks for set.
More dwarves. They are going to do the AOS game, surely, no? Because they said there's more coming.
So there we go. The new Kill Team Battle Box is on its way.
At least another 5 because I'll have to
and
go
we've
after
got
that.
Tom and Elliot from the Warhammer Studio to
I'll
tell
hang
us all about
around.
it. Welcome to the show, guys. Thanks for joining us. So
Do we
first
think we
of
have to
all,
wait 3
let's
months
have a
for
look
these
at what we're
dwarves?
dealing with. These guys are pretty awesome. It's set
Probably.
on Beta Decima by the look of it. Can you tell us about how the story's evolved since last time?
So you could say Beta Decima's had a bit of a tough time recently with the Gallowdark event. The Genestealer have taken over the whole planet. They've got orbital defense platforms and military bases and the capital city and things like that. And so the Jaegers are part of a larger fleet that is actually shadowing a Tyranid hive fleet. And they have been following this Tyranid hive fleet as it's been absorbing the biomatter of planet after planet. So they're allowing it to fatten up, filled with delicious advanced biomaterials and things like that. So they're waiting for the perfect time to ambush this hive fleet in a giant space battle. And so the Jaegers have been sent out in a scouting ship to see where they're going and to make sure that there's a whole area of space where the Leagues of Votan get to work without being interrupted by anybody else. Unfortunately, they fly close to Beta Decima that seems to have gone through some tough times, and they are engaged by
Slayers with the two
controlled
axe
orbital
things and
defense weapons.
what are they called?
That
Because
managed to take
they're
them
not
by
part of the
surprise and
Goblin
shoot
Hero,
their
right?
ship down.
But they're not
so
new.
the Jaegers find themselves crash-landed
Were they?
and
They didn't look
massively
new.
outnumbered by the Genestealer cult. So the Genestealer cult deployed their
They feel like
Brood
something
Brother
that
kill
came out
team
post-sixth,
to make an example of these interlopers.
So in terms of the Leagues of Votan, the Hernkin, we've only seen them as the pioneers riding around on their cool Magna Core bikes, right? What are the Hernkin Jaegers and how do they actually play in kill?
That's an AOS
So they're
thing,
a
though,
brand
isn't
new
it?
unit
No,
for
yeah,
the Leagues
it's
of
six.
Votan.
They were in that six.
Like you said before, the Hernkin we've
They're
seen
in the
are
Slayer army
pioneers,
list, was it, for sixth,
who are the
was
ones on
it?
bikes. These are the
Storm
Jaegers.
Chaos, okay,
So they're still part of the Hernkin, but they have a slightly different role. Now, the Hernkin's primary role is the scouts.
right,
They're the
that's right,
advanced party of the Leagues of Votan, if you like. So they range ahead of the rest of the fleet and the rest of the forces. They will identify locations of importance and drop markers or beacons or relay the information back to the rest of their kin. But sometimes they'll need to leave a presence there. And that's where the Jaegers come in. So the Jaegers are an incredibly self-sufficient commando unit, if you like. And they'll get deployed at locations that are identified by the Hernkin. And then they'll conduct acts of sabotage, assassination, disruption for extended periods on their own with very little support or reinforcement. So when the rest of their kin arrive, they're effectively mopping up all the great work that all the Jaegers have done, whilst they take it easy back on the ship, I suppose. But yeah, they're really, really self-sufficient and conduct sort of guerrilla warfare type battles. That's their purpose. In the game, they have a lot of unique rules. So sort of a hybrid between extremely elite and more of the more numerous teams that sort of sit in the middle. One of the first things they do is they like to control the board. So they've set up their traps and their positions early, ready to ambush people, and so they have some funky ways of doing that. First of all, you can set them up.
How many guys play kill teams? I do like some of the models, obviously.
Make that
It's
yours.
a good way to bring them out. And I
they
do
also
like
have
some of
little
the
mines
scenery
you can
they
litter around
do,
the
but
battlefield so that
as I said, don't
you're really
play for
forcing
the
your
case. I'm
opponent
not
to
even sure if
move
this is good or not.
specifically or otherwise take the damage from those mines, which is fun. And then they also have
Richard, the Orc
something quite
one
unique called
is going
resourceful points.
pre-order this
Because
week, but I
they're
don't know
very,
about
very
Australia
self-sufficient
pre-order.
and
That's
flexible and
definitely
adaptable, if you like. They can
the
generate
first
these points,
wave's
they
coming
can,
out. It's
you know,
actually bigger
spend
than
them
what
to
they.
either,
The first
heal some
wave
wounds,
looks
you can
bigger
start to
than
lose
what
some
they
wounds.
actually said in
You
the
can also add one
article.
to their
I think.
APL to do more
Seems to
actions,
be
that
by
kind
the
of thing.
order lists that I've seen going around.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's really, really useful, and especially because it's reactive, so I can keep these points and then spend it the moment I need.
So I'm
to,
assuming
which is
the Orc
unlike a
thing
lot
is
of
going to
other,
drag on for the next
APL
what
rules
days
where
of
you normally have
March,
to set it up, and
April.
it's a bit more telegraphed.
You might
This is a
see
bit more reactive,
dwarves
which is
going
quite
back
nice.
up in May or something. Who
They've
knows?
also got some really, really funky operatives that do some unique things. First, we got the
So that
tracker,
means the
these cool goggles and a
the rumor
crossbow
about
and a
the
throwing axe.
Crossbow.
Oh yes.
The logo and the
it gives
release,
this operative a real like woodsman hunter type feel.
Like
which is really
which order
nice.
they're coming in.
You've also got my
I think
favourite one, the
this-
bombast.
This
This
not
one
confirms
has
it, but
a
it's
rule
in
called
line with that. I
Rortlock
think that orcs
negotiation,
are paired with dwarves.
which is named after its Rortlock revolvers.
See if I can bring that
Negotiated
up.
with the
I've got it
revolvers,
here
of course,
somewhere.
which is really cool. And that allows this operative to, at the very, very start of the turning point, get some shots in before anyone else, which is really, really fun. So you've got a Magna Coil rifle
Yeah,
from
I
your
can't
sniper.
show it without pulling the stream down,
So,
which would be a bit
overall,
annoying.
they're a really, really fun team that likes to fight on their terms. Like I said, whether that's they've set up the board for themselves and force you to go specific ways, and then fight in a real guerrilla play style. So as long as they're controlling the narrative and they're in control of the game, that's when they're going to shine the best. So yeah, they're a really, really
So
fun
much
team.
of the
So
previous
onto
delayed
the
and-
Brood
yeah,
Brothers
everything's
themselves. Now, they're quite a
delayed,
sub-faction
but yeah,
of
and
the
they say
Genestealer
they
cults
have enough
themselves.
capacity.
For
It's
those who
very
don't know
weird.
about it, would you like to explain more about what the Brood Brothers are?
Yeah, so the Brood Brothers are Astra Militarum Imperial Guard that have been
See you, Gunnar.
brought onto the side
Thanks
of
for
the
that.
Genestealer
Thanks for watching,
cult.
mate.
They are normally waiting and hiding within loyalist regiments. They can sometimes
Hopefully next
be,
time we
we've
have a
talked
few
about the
people on the
background
call,
of
so
this
it's
book,
not
where
just me.
they
I'm
can
not
sometimes
very
be the most effective
charismatic by
squad,
myself. It's a bit hard
of
to,
an Imperial Guard platoon,
especially
for
when
example,
it's
and the
stuff I
commander
have
loves
no
them
idea about.
until the
Just
day
kill
of
team.
revolution happens, and then they turn on their sort of loyalist companions. This particular Brood Brother squad that we want to capture here is the most elite version of a Brood Brothers. They are veteran guardsmen who have fought in many campaigns, who have either been Gene Stealers all along and been in hiding, or they've been turned to the side of the Gene Stealers. So they have tons of combat experience. They use lots of special weapons that the Imperial Guard use and things like that. And they are the bodyguard squad for the Brood Coven. So they protect the highest leaders of the Gene Stealer cult during, the dangerous points of a revolution.
Yeah, well, speaking of which, shall we deal with the four-armed elephant in the room? The Patriarch, that's going to be in the Brood Brothers kill team, isn't it? That's a terrifying notion. I'm kind of morbidly interested, yet really intimidated to find out more about it.
It's also got one of a very weird-looking tail there. So, it's hopefully a tail.
Had a lot of fun with this operative. It's quite costly. It costs you numerous other operatives if you want to take them. So, so effectively, you're going to have a choice each game whether to take the Patriarch or one of the other ones, which we'll talk about later. Double activation, they can activate twice, really fun. They can even mind control the opponent's operatives, which is to make them do actions, which is just really, really cool. So it's a lot of fun, a real all-star of this team, for sure, yeah.
Wow. So we've got those others. We've got the Mages, of course, a full-on dedicated psyker, really, and the Primus, who's the tactical mastermind of the Gene Stealer cults. How do they work as well?
Yeah, so the Magus is the spiritual leader of the cult, so you have a lot more support rules from that operative. It's also a very powerful psyker, so you've got some cool psychic unique actions to do. And then the Primus is the strategic military mastermind of the cult.
They do look cool.
So that's going to give you extra CP, influence over initiative, which is really important.
They took a big nerf, didn't they, in 10th, wasn't it? Weren't they like right up there, and then they changed the rules
quite a lot of
bit,
flexibility on how you want to play
Gene
them,
Stealer
depending on
cults
what your
just
opponent's
dropped.
playing, that kind of thing. And like Tom was saying
Seems
before,
like
they're
they're
also
having
an elite veteran guardsman squad.
issues
effectively.
trying to
So
balance
if you don't want to play
a bit.
with one of the Brood Coven
all
and you just
good.
want to take extra operatives, they're more than worth doing as well, because they have lots of really funky interaction rules between them, which makes this team quite a flex team. You can really change how you want to play them depending on what you want for that game.
So what exactly do we have in the box then?
So in the box, you get these two new pieces of terrain. All the other terrain here is from the Killzone Beta Decima stuff that you can get separately. Then you've got both of the teams. There's quite a lot of models in here because we've added the Brood Coven as well.
Wasn't
So
the
in
other
terms of
one?
models, it's one of
Those
the
other
sort of
walkways, weren't they, on
heftiest
the
model
Striking
amounts that you
Scorpion
get in the Kill
Mantis
Team
release,
box.
whatever it's called.
You also then get card packs for each of the teams with data cards, with equipment cards, all the sort of stuff you've seen in Salvation for the Scouts and the Scorpions. And then also a book with all of your missions, your background, team rules in there as well. Token sheets for both the teams. So the Jaegers get their minefield tokens, which have blank sides as well, so you don't know which ones are real, which ones aren't.
AOS again,
So
if it
basically,
is
all of
coming.
the the best rules reference and stuff. We wanted to make sure people kind of get not just the
So
book,
this
but
is longer than I
everything
thought. I thought it was
in this
only going to
box.
be a 20
Well,
or
that is
30 minute
Kill
one.
Team Termination. Thanks again for joining us, Tom and Elliot.
well,
Let
it's all
us know
good.
all about it. Sounds super cool. Can't wait for it. Keep your eyes out. It's coming soon. But before you go, we've got even more stuff on its way, so stick around.
Oh, have they? They've always been an hour. Okay, maybe I just.
So that was our second teaser trailer. It looks
pick
like
up
we're
on
heading back to Necromunda. What did you think, Si?
It does indeed, yeah. Necromunda's a big place, of course, so it could be set anywhere. Who knows? Who knows? And of course, some shiny new miniatures by the look of it as well. If you reckon you know the answers to these questions, folks, make sure you join us on social media and let us know what you think.
And for more information, head to warhammercommunity.com.
I cannot believe it. Even more fantastic announcements, and even that teaser I promised as well. Who knew? Well, I reckon that's about it. Oh, I almost forgot. There is just one more thing to show you. Enjoy.
Sigmar lied.
Violence against women is never
Sigmar
okay.
told us we were chosen.
It's probably a bad joke.
Warriors, stolen from death. to be reforged as his weapons. The immortal sons and daughters of the Storm God.
I'm hoping it's full bed. Yep, there's a escaping symbol. Escaping been living under them all the time. That's cool. Shit. That's cool. Rat riders. Looks like they got some classic units if they're redoing them.
Sigmar lied. He never told us the true cost of this honor. Soon, all that will remain of me is an echo, lost to the storm. But until that day, I fight.
Oh, are we going to get any miniatures, or is it just that? Nope. Here we go. Hashtag new AOS.
Yes, it's official. Warhammer Age of Sigmar's new edition is here and is coming very, very soon. I'm joined by Ben and Phil and Matt from the AOS studios to chat about all things Age of Sigmar. Guys, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
First of all, let's jump straight in
glad
with
Ben
that
worked there,
cinematic. I mean, come on, that
specifically
thing
on
is
the AOS team.
absolutely amazing. We were blown
Hey guys,
away
I'm going to have to call
by
this
that.
one
Let's talk
because
about
I have
some
to
of
go
your
and
top
pick up
highlights
kids.
from the
It's only
cinematic
3
trailer.
o'clock here.
I mean, it was
I thought-
gobsmacking. We
Yeah.
first time we saw it, we were like,
So,
what an absolute tour de force.
I'm assuming there's going to be
We've
no
been working with
miniatures.
these
If there is,
characters and
we'll
these,
catch up on the
different
podcast
factions
with it.
for a
Thanks
while, but
for
seeing them brought
joining
to
our
life in that
stream.
way, it just
Next time,
pitch
hopefully, there's
perfect.
more than just
Really
me,
something.
but it's just
Yeah,
the time
I love
of day.
that
It
they've
is what it
worked
is.
so hard on that as well. You
Thanks so
can
much,
tell that really
guys.
bringing those sort of like miniatures to life. That bit where
Yeah, I don't know if we're
the
going to see
Skaven comes
miniatures.
sort of like rolling down that hill with the
But the type of
rattling gun
miniature-
is just absolutely amazing.
It looks
as
like
well.
there's going to be
So
ones that we can
obviously,
use.
This event is sort of huge in the cinematic trailer that we've just seen, but obviously just a small glimpse into the threat that the Mortal Realms are facing right now. So let's talk a little bit about the lore and sort of where we find ourselves in the narrative.
Anyway, guys,
of
I'm
Age
going to
of
have to
Sigmar.
drop off. So
whereabouts are
sorry
we?
about that. It's been,
The hour of
didn't realize
ruin
it'd be a whole
dawned,
hour.
right? It's a new era for Age of Sigmar.
Done some
So we've just come out
arrangements.
of the era of the beast, very
See
destruction
you guys.
focused.
Oh, cheers.
Chaos
Richard.
strikes
No worries,
back.
mate.
We've
Thank
seen
you.
the Skaven enter
I will
play
talk
in
to you
a
guys later.
great
Thanks a lot.
cataclysm called the Vermin Doom. That was the